What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL running backs for week 2 of the NFL season. Can't believe we're already into week 2 already, but here we are to break it down. Got a lot of good backfields that I think we really got to break down. It's not just about each individual running back as much as the backfield and the game script, so we're going to get into all of that. But before I get into it, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on notification bell. All those things really help me out. We've had a lot of growth throughout NFL season, or through NBA and NASCAR season, and now NFL is here, and we've had some pretty good growth so far through NFL as well. So if you're new here, thanks for checking it out. If you want to get more of my content, you can always subscribe to my Patreon for only $10 a month. I'll put the link in the description below. You're going to get articles for every single position every single week, along with an article for all the main showdowns, Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night football. Go in depth on that. You're also going to get my rankings for every single position, as well as my cash rankings, my GBP rankings, my top stacks, and my injury notes, and you'll basically know just who to play when someone gets hurt. And it's not just like, running back gets hurt, oh, that affects something. No, like last week, Lane Johnson for Philly was out, and that was big because it ended up meaning Washington's defense could be a pretty solid play. So stuff like that. That's just one example. Corners can be out like Richard Sherman just got ruled out like an hour ago, so that's gonna be big for the Jets side of the game. So just stuff like that, you'll be able to know what every entry means on Sunday morning. So be sure to come check that out. If you want to follow me on social media, Twitter's at DFS_Natelane, Instagram's at @Natelane_. Just love talking about sports. Basically over there, you can always ask me questions over there as well. So check me out. I'll put the links for both of those in the description below. But I think that's it. Let's dive in here. And we're going to start out with the Buffalo Bills backfield. They are going against Miami Dolphins this week. You have Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. They are basically splitting carries back there. When we go look at the offensive line versus defensive line matchup, it's a negative matchup. Most of the running backs matchups are going to be negative. The ones that are positive are like really good. But most matchups are negative. But this one isn't really like good anyway. Like Buffalo offensive line just really isn't like all that, honestly. And the Miami defensive line is kind of underrated. Like Kyle Van Noy's good. Christian Wilkins is pretty solid. They've got some pretty solid players. Maybe we can go over them. Yeah, Kyle Van Noy, Emmanuel Ogbah, that was one I was thinking of. They're just all pretty solid run defenders, and Buffalo's not a great run blocking team, but the Buffalo Bills are favored in this game, but it is the lowest total game on the entire slate. We saw last game Devin Singletary attempted to run the ball 9 times, Zach Moss as well 9 times, and Devin Singletary was targeted 7 times in the passing game and Zach Moss 4 times in the passing game. So both these two are going to be GPP only plays for me. I wouldn't touch them in cash, just because I don't think they have guaranteed carries. Zach Moss is very inefficient, so we're kind of seeing maybe he's going to trend downward. Got a lot of inside to 5 carries, didn't even get touchdowns, or didn't get a touchdown off one of those. I think he scored off a pass, but those are just thoughts on that one. I think they're both interesting GPP plays. Probably not someone I really want to go to that much. I think if any of them, I'd probably go to more Singletary just because he gets usage in the passing game. If he can get like a 20-yard pass for a touchdown, it'd be nice, but that's really it. I'm probably not going to get a ton of these guys. Matchup just isn't that favorable, and it's a very low-scoring game. So even though they are favored, I still just don't know how much I want to go there. Up next, we'll go to Matt Breida and Miami backfield with Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, and Jordan Howard. We got a 3-way backfield here. This is a negative matchup as well, but it's really not too bad. I think the Buffalo D-line, this Miami offensive line is much improved this year, and I grade out, not horribly. So, however, they are going to be playing from behind, and Matt Breida only saw the ball 5 times last game. It was very shocking to me that Myles Gaskin was the highest used running back in this offense. He ran the ball 4 times and got targeted ran the ball 9 times, got targeted 4 times, and then Jordan Howard only ran the ball 8 times. So I'm really just not interested at all in this Miami backfield. I don't know what's going to happen. I really would be shocked to see Myles Gaskin be the lead guy in touches this year on that offense, especially, just after bringing in Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. Yes, they were down. I expect them to be down again, but still, it was a little surprising to me. They are not favorites in this game. They're going to be playing from behind, so I wouldn't get any Jordan Howard. I'm not going to touch this backfield at all. So just not anywhere I want to go this week. We got the New York Jets, where Le'Veon Bell is on the IR now, so it's Frank Gore and the newly signed Kalen Ballage. They also have a Michael Pirine, but I don't think he didn't even get the ball last game, so I don't expect much from him. Le'Veon Bell ran the ball 6 times, got targeted twice. Frank Gore ran the ball 6 times. Kalen Ballage was on a different team. So this is another one I don't really want to attack. They're playing San Francisco. It's a very negative matchup. This is not a spot where I want to. They're heavy underdogs here. Frank Gore's not a pass catching back. Kalen Balash sucks. Well, Michael P. Ryan, I haven't seen anything out of, so I just don't want any of this. I don't really want any of the Jets, except for maybe a Brashad Perriman or Jamison Crowder, who we'll talk about in the receivers video. But that's it. Like, I don't want any of these running backs at all. This is just not a spot I want to go to. Playing from behind, tough matchup. Not really sure where the usage is going. I know they're cheap. I mean, Frank Gore is like $4,000, I'm pretty sure, $4,500, but Kalen Balash at the moment doesn't have a price on Draftkings, so I'm sure he'll get updated before Sunday, but just not somewhere I really want to get to. The Baltimore Ravens face off against Houston. We have J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. This is a positive matchup for the offensive line for Baltimore. I mean, we know they're a great offensive line, and they are expected to be playing from ahead. But the problem is, I don't really know who the ball is going to. I think that's J.K. Dobbins ran the ball 7 times last game, and Mark Ingram ran it 10 times. That's really it. I mean, I think Gus Edwards got a little bit of run at the end of the game, but these are the main two, and I'm not really 100% sure which one they're going to go to. It looks like they want to use Dobbins more, but I just don't like the fact that it is a split backfield. I mean, we can go look at the price tag. $5,100 for J.K. Dobbins seems a lot, and Mark Ingram at $5,400 honestly seems a lot. They're tournament-only plays. I'm not touching them in cash. I don't even want to ton them in GBPs just because I don't know where the carries are going. I think this is a week where there's a lot of value at receiver, and we just might want to pay up for running back a lot more than normal. And just not the spot I necessarily want to get to this week. I think they're fine, but I mean, I'll probably get a few shares of them in tournaments because I mean we saw J.K. Dobbins had a touchdown last week. I think he had 2 actually. He probably only had 1. And I just think we know they can get the touchdowns. It's just I just don't know who the ball is going to a lot. I think, honestly, if they're blowing out them, it'd probably go to Dobbins because they just don't want to, run Mark Ingram into the ground at this point. But, I mean, I've been saying this since in all offseason, this is going to be a split backfield this year. Mark Ingram was a terrible fantasy football pick for anyone who drafted him, and I'm going to continue to believe that. James Conner, Benny Snell are in the backfield for Pittsburgh. James Conner hurt his ankle Monday night. Kind of killed me on DraftKings, not going to lie. And hurt a little in fantasy football too. So he only ran the ball 6 times and was targeted 4 times, while Benny Snell ran it 19 times and was targeted once. They are favorites here in this game against Denver. It's a negative matchup, but it's not that bad. It's a lower total game, so I'm a little scared of that. I'm not touching James Conner this week. I mean, I don't trust ankle sprains in running backs or players ever. Like, ankles are something that, like, it's not just something like the ankles seem to bother running backs a lot. Like, I always remember Alvin Kamara last year's ankle problems that just ruined him. I mean, it's just like ankle issues are hard to get through. So James Conner, I'm not going to touch at all this week. I wouldn't be surprised with split backfield. I also wouldn't be surprised if Benny Snell takes over. So Benny Snell at 4,500. If James Conner gets ruled out, which can happen, he's probably the best value on the entire slate. He's going to get the ball 20 times at least because I mean those were the first 2 drives where James Conner had got the ball 10 times. So you add 10, that's 30 times Benny Snell would have had the ball. Like, Pittsburgh wants to run one running back. They want a bell cow. That's what they were doing with James Conner before. He got hurt, and then Benny Snell afterwards. So if Conner gets ruled out, Snell is the one to go with 100%. But if Conner's in, I'm just not even going to touch either of them. I just don't think that this is really a spot to get them at. It's a low-scoring game as well. The Houston Texans, we got David Johnson at 5,800 and Duke Johnson at 4,000. We saw David Johnson have a pretty solid game scoring-wise against the Chiefs, but he only ran the ball 11 times and was targeted 4 times. However, I will say they were playing from behind the entire game, so the game script was not good for them. They're playing Baltimore this week. It's a terrible matchup for their offensive line. I don't really want to touch either of these two. I just hate the matchup. I hate that they're going to be playing from behind. I don't think they're going to win this game. I know it's going to be high scoring. I just don't see any real way David Johnson has a big day unless he gets like 1 touchdown. But even then, that's not really that big of a day. So I don't like the matchup against Baltimore. If you want to take shots on them in GBPs, I think they're both fine because they're both pass-catching backs and they'll be used. I mean, Duke Johnson got hurt in that game and didn't play the whole second half, and I don't know if he's going to play it or not this game. So I think if he plays, I think he's like they're fine GBP options, but just like taking stabs at, not someone I want to hang my hat on. Up next, we got the Indianapolis Colts, which I think are like going to be the most interesting backfield and most talked about one all week. It's going to be all week. Do we play Jonathan Taylor or do we not play Jonathan Taylor? Oops. For me, I'm playing Jonathan Taylor. This guy is a stud. I mean, he is an absolute stud. This is the best offensive versus defensive line matchup on the slate. Minnesota's rush defense sucks. And Marlon Mack's out for the season, so Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor basically split carries on the stretch. Both had 15 touches that game. But the fact that they were both getting used in the passing game was very, very impressive to me. I think Jonathan Taylor should be getting the ball about 20 times a game. He's behind the best offensive line in the league and behind against one of the best defensive lines. So you want to play Jonathan Taylor in cash, I'm all for that. I think this is just an absolute amazing spot for him this week in a game they're favored. I just don't. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking with Nyheim Hines. I think Nyheim Hines is good for tournaments. I think both are good for tournaments, but Jonathan Taylor is just so good. I feel like they're just going to force feed him the ball, honestly. I mean, that's what they should do. I think they just didn't want to, do that in the middle of the first game. Like, once they prepare for it all week, Jonathan Taylor is going to be the bell cow this week, and I don't think anyone's going to be that surprised. And he's going to get some usage in the passing game. I mean, 6 targets from Phillip Rivers. I mean, Phillip Rivers, over the past few years has been someone who just loves targeting his running back, so that's not surprising for me. So both of these guys are viable in tournaments for me for sure. I definitely want to get some of both in tournaments, but especially Jonathan Taylor. I think he's just one of the best plays on that slate. He'll probably be pretty popular, but it's hard to get away from that. Just that matchup, that O-line, the total, basically everything, the talent, it's just tough to get away from Jonathan Taylor. Like, there's some chalk plays that are cheaper running backs. So, like, okay, I can see why you're getting away from him. Like, we'll talk about Melvin Gordon in a minute, but Jonathan Taylor, I don't want to get away from at all. James Robinson surprised me, honestly. I think surprised a lot of people. He's only 4,400 this week. When he was the bell cow, basically, against the Colts last week, 16 carries, 1 target. I mean, that's not a ton, but they were playing from behind most of that game, so he got game scripted out. This week they play against Tennessee, where it is a negative matchup for the offensive line. But I don't hate it. I mean, James Robinson's just good. Like, we know what he brings to the table. I was surprised that I was really surprised that he got all those touches for an undrafted rookie. I mean, I think he's okay. Gives you some value, but I think they are going to be playing from behind against Titans here. So I think he's an alright value option if you want to go there, but probably want to go there in cash. In tournaments, he's fine. Derrick Henry, he's underpriced, man. Derrick Henry is only 7,900. I mean, Derrick Henry. King Henry, bro. This guy, Derrick Henry, I mean, oh my gosh, he's just so good. Like, I've always, for whatever reason, just always am like doubting Derrick Henry that he's just going to be that good. He's still that guy. Derrick Henry ran the ball 31 times last game, and he got targeted 3 times in the passing game. And he ran, PFF said that he ran the most routes ever in his career last game. So he's getting used in the passing game this year. Do you know how scary that is for Derrick Henry to finally be getting used in the passing game? Finally, after all these years, finally going to get used in the passing game. This could be the year he just absolutely... I mean, he blew up last year, but he might blow up even more. Now he goes up against Jacksonville, where they're favored by a good bit. They're heavy favorites in this game, and they are going to be playing from ahead. He's going to be running the ball a ton. It's a good matchup for the offensive line. Derrick Henry, if you want to play him in cash, play him in cash. You want to play him in tournaments, he's like my favorite tournament running back on the entire slate. I absolutely love Derrick Henry this week. Someone I definitely want to attack. Just seems like an absolute smash spot for him. I think he should go off against Jacksonville. We've seen him go off against Jacksonville in the past too, so definitely would not be surprised to see Henry have himself a day. Melvin Gordon the third and Phillip Lindsay in Denver. They play against Pittsburgh, so Phillip Lindsay got hurt in the game on Monday night. I don't think he's going to play. It sounds doubtful that he's going to play. So Melvin Gordon's going to be the only guy, and he's pretty cheap. He's only like $5,000, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, $5,200 for Melvin Gordon. However, and he got when Lindsay went down, he ended the game with 15 attempts and 3 targets. So he's going to get the ball a lot, but I just don't want to play against Pittsburgh, man. I mean, it's a negative matchup, by the way, for an offensive line, but we saw what they did to Barkley, man. Barkley ran for 6 yards. Like, I know the offensive line's horrendous, but I don't want to pay for anyone against that defensive line. Melvin Gordon, if he's going to be popular, is going to be someone I go away from this week. I just think there's better options. Like, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's $200 more. And yeah, Melvin Gordon probably has more secure carries. He's probably better cash play, but like, I hate that matchup so much. I just don't want to attack that. That's just not for me. I think Melvin Gordon's fine in cash, but there's just sometimes, you get these cheap running backs and you're like, okay, that's fine. You're going to get a ton of usage. That's great. But then you just look at, and it's just sometimes you have these matchups. Like, I remember last year, I think it was Malcolm Brown when Gurley was out. Like, they were going up against the 49ers, and the 49ers run defense was insane last year, obviously. And I was just like, you probably shouldn't play him there. I mean, I know he's going to be the only running back in the ball, and he got the ball like 20 times, but he didn't do anything. So I'm just not too excited about Melvin Gordon in this offense against that defense. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. If you want to play him in cash, he's fine, but I'm not going to go there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is clearly the bell cow for the Chiefs. He's ran the ball 25 times last time and was targeted twice. They are favored in this matchup against the Chargers. It's a slightly negative matchup for him. Let me go look at Clyde's price real quick. $7,400. It's a little bit expensive. I think he's fine. Probably someone I want in tournaments. I don't really want to go there in cash. I just think there's better options. Like, I'd rather just pay $500 more for Henry if I'm going to cash. I mean, Henry actually got targeted more than Clyde in that game. The upside's clearly there, but I don't like the matchup that much. I think the Chargers are going to be a team I just don't play players against all year. They play slow, they're a good defense, good run defense. So probably not someone I really want to go to that much, but definitely a tournament option for me, just not someone I want to go to in cash. Austin Eckler let a ton of people down, and I think a lot of people are very nervous about Eckler for season long as the rest of the season goes. $6,500 on DraftKings. Then Josh Kelly is the other one in the backfield at $4,700. They're not favored in this game. They're going to be playing from behind. Austin Eckler ran the ball 19 times and got targeted only once. That was the one that was surprising to people. Like, we expect Eckler to be used for the air, but then Joshua Kelly also got 12 touches on the ground. That one was another one surprising. Had a lot of goal line carries. The thing that is, they are going to be playing from behind, so I think Eckler might get some more usage in the passing game, but I wouldn't bank on it too much. Definitely not someone I want to go to cash, but a GVP play for sure. So don't hate it at all. Up next, we got Zeke in the backfield for Dallas. Zeke's going to Zeke. $8,200. He's playing against Atlanta. It's going to be a negative negative matchup for the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. But I mean, like I said, like there's only a few actual positive matchups on the slate in the offensive line. So Ezekiel Elliott, I love this guy. I mean, he ran the ball 22 times and was targeted 4 times in the last game. They were playing from behind. This game's going to be a shootout, super high scoring. And if it's super high scoring in Dallas, you better believe Zeke's going to be part of that. So definitely someone I want to get to in this offense, in this matchup this week. Definitely love some Zeke. Saquon Barkley going up against Chicago Bears was horrible. I mean, just offensive line got destroyed. It's another negative offensive line matchup. He had 15 attempts and 9 targets. That 9 targets is what stands out to me, though. That means he's getting used to the air. They were playing from behind. That means he's not game script independent. I mean, we already knew that, but that just reassures it that this year he's not either. And so if they're losing, they are not favored in this game against Chicago, but I think that's okay. I think he's still going to get a ton of usage. I don't think a lot of people are going to play Barkley. I mean, if we go look at his price, he's $8,400. People are just going to play $200 less for Zeke, in all honesty, which is probably the smart play to go. But if not a lot of people are going to play Saquon Barkley, I mean, there's been plenty of times over the course, especially last year, where Barkley was not popular and Barkley popped off. So I don't hate going there. I mean, yeah, Chicago's a good defense, but Saquon's also Saquon. So in my opinion, it's the best running back in the league. Like talent-wise, I think he's in a absolute terrible situation. It's like switch Zeke and Saquon. Saquon will outperform Zeke every single year. Every single year. Won't even be close. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on Saquon Barkley. But, yeah, I think he's a good tournament option. Someone to be a little bit different from the field. But wouldn't go there in cash at all. By the way, Zeke's someone I definitely like for cash for sure. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he's great for cash. Got the Philadelphia Eagles backfield going up against the LA Rams this week. They got a nice little matchup, or a negative matchup against the Rams. We got Corey Clement, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. Miles Sanders missed, but reports are he's on track to play, so these other guys become pretty much irrelevant. But in the case that Miles Sanders does play, and Miles Sanders misses, Boston Scott's in play again. I know he sucked last game, but I'll go back to him because he's cheap enough. And if he misses 2, Corey Clement's the guy. He had 8 touches on the ground, or 8 touches on the ground and in the air. So I think it's a fine play. But if Miles Sanders is back, Miles Sanders is only $6,000. If he's going to play, if we get reports that Miles Sanders is a full go, he's a lock for cash, and he's a great tournament play too because he's only $6,000 and he's going to get the ball an absolute ton. So he's a bell cow. So I mean, unless we hear reports that are going to limit him a little bit, maybe limit the snaps, and that changes things. But then he's probably only a tournament option. But in cash, right now at the moment, if Miles Sanders just plays normal, he's a lock for cash and tournaments. Next, we got the Washington football team where we got Payton, Barber, and Antonio Gibson in the backfield. Antonio Gibson ran the ball 9 times and got 2 targets through the air. Payton Barber had 17 attempts. I don't understand why Payton Barber just keeps being the guy wherever he goes. He's not good. Like, Antonio Gibson's better. Ronald Jones is better in Tampa. It makes no sense. But I mean, whatever. Just what we got to deal with. I don't want to play Payton Barber. They're going to be playing from behind against Washington, probably not going to get a ton of usage. Same thing, Antonio Gibson, I think, is a fine tournament option, but neither of these guys do I want to go to for cash. Let's go look at their salaries. I mean, they're both cheap, $4,400 and $4,300. They're not expensive, but I just don't really trust Payton Barber. I mean, he's just, like, he's Payton Barber. Like, you know he's not going to do much. He's not going to have a ceiling game, so Antonio Gibson's probably the one I target in tournaments. I don't really want to target Payton Barber at all, but I wouldn't target either of them in cash for sure. Up next, we got the Chicago Bears, where we got Tarik Cohen and David Montgomery. When we go look at the offensive versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be a negative matchup here against that defensive line. The Chicago Bears running offensive line sucks, and actually the Giants' run defense isn't like terrible. Like they're pretty good. They're terrible pass defense, but a run defense they haven't been that bad. But I don't really know how much I want to go here. Tarik Cohen ran the ball 7 times, got targeted twice. David Montgomery ran the ball 13 times, got targeted 3 times. They are favorites, so I think Montgomery could be a guy for a game script game. I think I target him in tournaments, but definitely not going to either of these 2 in cash. The Detroit Lions, we have a triple head backfield: DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson. Kerryon Johnson ran the ball 7 times and was terrible. DeAndre Swift ran the ball 3 times and was targeted 5 times and dropped a game-winning touchdown. But Adrian Peterson ran the ball 14 times and was targeted 3 times through the air. Adrian Peterson, they signed him a week ago. I guess 2 weeks now. Adrian Peterson. That's absolutely shocking to me. I was surprised by that. I don't hate going there. He's only $4,700 against Green Bay. Matchup isn't like amazing or anything, but I don't hate it. I mean, I think it's a solid tournament option. Same with Swift. I think both of them are tournament options. I don't want to touch Kerryon, and definitely don't want to get any of these guys in cash at all. But I think Peterson's a solid tournament option. Aaron Jones, $7,100. Jamal Williams, $42. When we go look at the matchup, it is a negative matchup for Green Bay, but it's not like that bad. They are favorites here in a high total game. Aaron Jones ran the ball 16 times and was targeted 6 times through the air. Jamal Williams ran the ball 7 times and was targeted 4 times through the air. We know Aaron Jones is going to get the red zone carries as of now. I think A.J. Dillon could take over later in the year, but right now it's going to be Aaron Jones. So I don't hate going there. He's probably not a good target in cash. Probably won't be too popular, so I think he's a solid GPP play. Dalvin Cook against, oh God, who's Minnesota playing? Jeez. The Colts. Dalvin Cook playing the Colts at $7,600. When we go look at the offense versus defense line matchup, it's a negative matchup. Total line 48.5. They're not favored. Dalvin Cook, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, usage looks worrisome. 12 attempts, 2 targets, but they were down by like 30 the whole game, so he got game scripted out of that. They're not projected to win this game, but this one should be way closer than last week, like for sure. Like I don't even think that's a question. The Colts and the Packers are 2 completely different teams, so I don't think the Vikings are that good, but I don't think the Colts are either. So 48.5 total is not bad. Dalvin Cook's definitely a tournament only option at $7,600. Don't want to go there in cash. Todd Gurley. How much is Todd Gurley? Todd Gurley's $6,100, which kind of feels a little expensive. I mean, he only played like 52% of snaps last week, but he was out there a lot. Or when he was out there, he was getting the ball. It is a negative match for the offensive line, but he ran the ball 14 times and was targeted 5 times through the air. So he had a pretty good role in a super high-scoring game once again. I think he'll have a pretty good role again. Tournament option for sure. Not a lot of people are going to own Todd Gurley. I just don't think a lot of people want to go to Todd Gurley at this point in his career, where he's at, the uncertainty of injuries, the uncertainty of how much usage he's going to get. But I think he's fine at that price for tournaments for sure. And the highest total game on the slate, they're not favored, but I don't think that matters. This game's going to be super high scoring. I mean, we saw last week Chris Carson, that same game. I mean, he's running back and he got the ball targeted twice to him. So don't hate going to Gurley. Christian McCaffrey, it's McCaffrey. Just lock him in for cash. 23 targets on the ground, 23 attempts on the ground, 4 targets through the air. I don't have much more to say about that. I mean, he's fine. It's McCaffrey. You play him in tournaments, you play him in cash. He's fine. He's fine everywhere. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. Ronald Jones, $5,200. Fournette's $4,800. I think Ronald Jones may actually be a little underpriced here. They're favored against Carolina, who is like their rush defense. Carolina, horrible. I mean, they were horrible last year, and Josh Jacobs just had the best game of his entire freaking career last week. Fournette only ran the ball 5 times, was targeted once, but Ronald Jones ran it 17 times and was targeted 3 times. And this is a game where they're favored in a pretty high-scoring game against bad defense. Positive matchup for the offensive line. Ronald Jones, man, I'm going to fire him up in tournaments. I mean, they just get torched by running backs like every single week. So give me all to Ronald Jones. I may even take a stab at Fournette or 2, but I don't think he's going to get a ton of usage. I think it's still Ronald Jones for now. I think Fournette, quietly, slowly probably sneaks into this and makes it like a 2 workhorse or double or split backfield. But for now, I think it's still Ronald Jones. I mean, Fournette is like new with the team. So, I think Ronald Jones, very good tournament option here. I think he's someone I definitely want to target in tournaments. You got the Arizona backfield going against Washington. We got Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds. Kenyon Drake ran the ball 16 times, was targeted twice. Chase Edmonds ran the ball 6 times, was targeted 5 times. That was shocking that we had 5 targets for Chase Edmonds. But we did. I think Chase Edmonds is a very viable tournament punt. I don't really want to call him a punt, but I think it's a good tournament option. I mean, he had a touchdown last week. $4,600. He's cheap. He's getting the targets. He's really athletic. Chase Edmonds is a very good running back, one of, if not the best backup running back in the league, in my opinion. I think it's between him and Alexander Madison and Minnesota. So, I mean, he's getting used. Kenyon Drake's fine everywhere. I mean, they're pretty big favorites against Washington. It's a great matchup for them. So, I'm finding Kenyon Drake in both cash and tournaments. Cam Akers, Malcolm Brown for the LA Rams. Malcolm Brown had himself a game week 1. They have a tough matchup this week, though, against Philly. This is another one of those teams where I just don't like to play running backs against. I hated doing it with Antonio Gibson last week, and I just should have, not done it. But Cam Akers, Malcolm Brown, the Philly defensive line's really good. They've been a great run defense for years. Josh Sweat, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, all very, very good against a run. And I just don't know how much I want to play teams against that. That being said, Akers and Brown are pretty cheap. Akers, even though he was struggling, still ran the ball 14 times and was targeted once, while Malcolm Brown ran the ball 18 times and was targeted 4 times. So 22 touches for Malcolm Brown is valuable at that price. If you want to play him in cash, I think that's fine. $5,700 for Brown, $4,500 for Akers. Probably want to go Akers. Brown's okay. But in tournaments, I probably am not going to go there just because I think that they are going to get some sort of ownership this week, and I really, really hate that matchup. So I would probably just look for him more in cash games. I don't think he really just hits this massive upside where you need him to win tournaments. I'll probably look the other way unless something changes this week. Someone could get ruled out. I think either Graham or Cox got shaken up in that game. So if one of them gets ruled out, then that changes up things. So Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, and Raheem Mostert are the backfield for the 49ers. Raheem Mostert went off. Jerick McKinnon had a good game as well. But McKinnon and Coleman really only saw the ball a little bit. Tevin Coleman ran the ball 4 times and was targeted twice. Jerick McKinnon ran the ball 3 times and was targeted 5 times. Raheem Mostert, though, ran the ball 15 times and was targeted 5 times. They're heavy favorites against this New York Jets terrible team. They got a good matchup in offensive line. But the thing with Raheem Mostert is I think he would be fine. He's just too expensive. $6,400. I don't really want to pay that much for him. I might take a shot at him in GBPs or two, but if Raheem Mostert wouldn't have done anything if it wasn't for that 80-yard touchdown he had. It wasn't like he had some outstanding game. He had one great play that was worth 20, 30 points. So I don't want to play him in cash at all. But in tournaments, I'll take some stabs at him. I think Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman probably not as much. I don't think they're really that viable. I think if anyone, I'm going to take a shot on McKinnon. I think he's got more upside, but that's really about it. I think that's really all I got to say on the running backs. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Got a lot of information out of this. If you want to, make sure to go watch my quarterbacks video that's already up, and go watch my Thursday Night Football video if you're watching this before the Thursday night game. So be sure to check out all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and hope you guys make some money this weekend.